The Angels of Vigilance are a loyalist chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, which is rumoured to have been created during the course of the second founding. The chapter has been heavily speculated to be a successor chapter of the first legion of the Legione Astartes, the Dark Angels, although this is yet to be confirmed within any official records. This lack of confirmation is primarily due to the fact that the chapter is not listed within the tome known as the Apocrypha of Davio, which supposedly details the names and genetic heritage of all second founding chapters. While this text implies that only 3 Dark Angel successor chapters were established during the second founding, the Angels of Absolution, Angels of Vengeance, and Angels of Redemption, a number of other undocumented chapters would be founded during this particular period of time, such as the now forgotten Lion Sable chapter. Whatever their true genetic heritage, the Angels of Vigilance are known to display an unflinching devotion in their service to the Imperium, and have fought valiantly against the enemies of man throughout numerous theatres of war. One such example was during the Third War for Armageddon, where the chapter would dispatch no less than 6 companies of warriors to bolster Imperial defences against the forces of the Orc warlord Ghazghul Magoruk Thraka. The chapter's homeworld of Pervigilium is located close to the region of space known as the Cadian Gate, which once acted as the sole stable corridor of space leading from the warp space rift known as the Eye of Terror into the material realm. As such, it has been rumoured, though unconfirmed, that the Angels of Vigilance were founded as one of the Astartes Praeses, chapters whose task was to combat against any chaotic incursions that may emerge from the depths of the Eye. Indeed, the chapter has been known to regularly lend their support against any Traitor Legion fleets that attempt to break through into Imperial space. During the events of Abaddon the Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade, the Angels of Vigilance would appear to continue in this task, as the chapter was rumoured to have dispatched 5 battle companies to aid in the world's defence, although the ultimate fate of these warriors remains unknown following the destruction of Cadia itself. Despite being stalwart defenders of the Imperium, the Angels of Vigilance are one of the few Space Marine chapters to have never mustered their forces at chapter strength for any of the various conflicts that they have partaken in. This is due to the fact that the chapter has sworn a blood oath to ensure that their fortress monastery, a colossal orbital dock in orbit of Pervigilium, is never left unmanned or undefended. To ensure that such an oath is upheld, an entire company of the chapter's warriors, at minimum, is duty-bound to remain within the confines of their fortress monastery and ensure its defense. This vow has even resulted in the chapter's loyalty being called into question by the High Lords of Terror on numerous occasions, for those duty-bound to guard the chapter's fortress monastery will ignore any and all requests for aid, regardless of how severe the situation at hand may be. Despite the tensions that exist between the chapter and the High Lords as a result of the chapter's oaths, the Angels of Vigilance continue to prove themselves as noble and unwavering defenders of humanity. But given how the vows that the chapter has sworn to ensure that their fortress monastery is defended at all times has almost resulted in the chapter coming to blows against the Imperium on numerous occasions, then one question needs to be asked. Why are the Angels of Vigilance so adamant that their fortress monastery remains guarded at all times? The first potential reason in this regard, which would also appear to be the most feasible explanation, is that the Angels of Vigilance are simply being pragmatic. Given Pervigilium's close proximity to the Eye of Terror, it's reasonable to assume that the Angels of Vigilance would ensure that their fortress monastery is always manned, so as to prevent it from falling into Traitor Legion hands. After all, the chapter's fortress monastery would not only contain within it a number of relics that the Angels of Vigilance have inherited over the course of their existence, but also stockpiles of gene seed, the genetic material utilized in the creation of new Space Marines. If an unguarded fortress monastery existed close to the Cadian Gate, then this could prove to be an extremely tempting target to any Chaos Space Marine warbands that successfully break through into Imperial space. Because of this, the Angels of Vigilance may have decided to swear their blood oaths in order to ensure that such a fate would not come to pass, perhaps as a result of a similar fate befalling another Loyalist chapter. Another possibility is that the Angels of Vigilance have sworn to keep watch over the world of Pervigilium, perhaps to ensure that the world's population is always defended against any potential threat that may dare assault it. This particular prospect is partially supported by the fact that shortly after the culmination of the Horus Heresy, though before the introduction of Rubicante Codex Astartes, the Dark Angels, as documented on the Armageddon Free website, would disobey orders relayed to them by the High Lords of Terror in order to embark on a crusade against the ruling castes of Pervigilium. While the exact reasoning behind this campaign is unclear, it's possible that the Dark Angels were responding to a potential insurrectionist uprising orchestrated by one of the traitor legions, or were instead simply forcing the world back into compliance, due to its rulers having chosen to secede from the Imperium. Whatever the truth of the matter, the Angels of Vigilance would claim Pervigilium for themselves following the events of the Second Founding, and the chapter has kept watch over the world ever since. As a result, this would appear to support the possibility that the chapter keeps watch over the world so as to ensure that a similar such set of events would never unfold again. But what if the reason behind the chapter's refusal to leave their fortress monastery undefended is not merely out of the desire to ensure the security of both their home and genetic legacy, nor is it out of an altruistic desire to protect the citizens of Pervigilium? Instead, could it be possible that the reason behind the chapter's interest in Pervigilium was due to them being tasked with keeping the world under strict surveillance? Such a reason for the chapter's founding wouldn't be entirely unprecedented, as there have been a number of Space Marine chapters who were founded to fulfill similar such purposes. For example, the Scythes of the Emperor were established to act as the wardens of an ancient Xenos artifact known as the Pharos Beacon, while the Warriors of the Death Spectres chapter would claim the world of Occludus for themselves, after the chapter's founder learned of the existence of an incredibly powerful artifact known to the chapter as the Shariax. The fact that the chapter is known as the Angels of Vigilance would also appear to support this possibility, as the chapter was created to, in essence, remain vigilant. Admittedly though, it is possible that the chapter's name is in itself a reference to their role in guarding the worlds near the Cadian Gate, should the chapter indeed be a member of the Astartes Praeses, as some have speculated. But if the chapter was indeed tasked with guarding an item of significance, then what could this particular object be? One possibility is that the item that the chapter watches over, if it is indeed truly guarding some type of artifact, could be a piece of ancient and powerful Xenos technology, in a manner similar to those that were safeguarded by the aforementioned Death Spectres and Scythes of the Emperor chapters. Such an object could be so monumentally powerful that the chapter could fear the devastation it could wreak should it ever fall into the wrong hands. If this were the case, then it would make perfect sense as to why the Angels of Vigilance would wish to monitor such a relic at all times, to ensure that such an eventuality would never come to pass. Alternatively, if the Angels of Vigilance are indeed a successor chapter of the Dark Angels, as has been initially implied, then the chapter's vigil could be somehow tied to those members of the original Dark Angels Legion that turned traitor during the Horus Heresy, known as the Fallen. Whenever a member of the Fallen is successfully captured by the Unforgiven, a title used to describe the Dark Angels and their successors, they are incarcerated before eventually being brought before an interrogator chaplain. The chaplain will then attempt to make the Fallen repent for his heresy by subjecting him to prolonged and agonizing sessions of torture. Should the Fallen wish to atone for his sins, then the chaplain will end his suffering by granting him the mercy of a swift death. With this in mind, could it be possible that the world of Pervigilium, or even the fortress monastery of the Angels of Vigilance, is acting as some type of maximum security prison for the fallen? While the Dark Angels themselves have a vast number of cells within the depths of their colossal void-faring fortress monastery of the Rock with which to detain their traitorous kin, the Angels of Vigilance could use their resources to incarcerate any potential members of the Fallen that had been captured by another Unforgiven chapter which may lack access to such facilities. Such chapters may have had their homeworlds recently destroyed, or perhaps they are operating whilst dangerously under strength, and need an ally to maintain watch over their prisoners whilst they replenish their numbers. However, if this were the case, one must wonder if the Angels of Vigilance are charged with conducting any interrogations upon the Fallen themselves, or if they are simply expected to hold them for their fellow Unforgiven chapters, until they are ready to perform such rites themselves. Regardless of their reasons, the Angels of Vigilance will undoubtedly continue to stand resolute against the enemies of man, as long as the chapter remains able to ensure the safety of their fortress monastery. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.